Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a look at Nigeria through its newspaper headlines from May 12th, 2025.
Right. And it's quite a mix, isn't it?
It really is. What's striking is just the sheer variety. You've got politics, economics, social stuff, even a viral video doing the rounds.
Mm-hmm. And the sources also have these little did you know facts and a today in history bit.
Yeah, and a quote too. So it's current events mixed with some broader context.
Exactly.
So our mission today, basically cut through all that noise, pull out the key bits, the interesting nuggets, give you a good sense of what's happening without, drowning you in information.
Sounds good. It really shows Nigeria is this incredibly dynamic place, lots of moving parts all at once.
Okay, let's jump straight into politics and governance then. First up, it seems some UTME candidates might take legal action against JMB.
Yes, the university entrance exams.
Right. UTME is the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, and JMB is the board that runs it.
And technical glitches during those exams, that's a huge deal for students.
Absolutely. It really shows how tech issues can directly mess things up for ordinary people.
Yeah, it brings up questions about, well, accountability when these systems fail. It's becoming so essential.
Then there's this viral video involving Tompolo and alleged Naira abuse.
That one definitely got a lot of attention.
Seems like it. Loads of people calling for the EFCC, that's the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, to step in.
It really highlights the intense public focus on, prominent figures and their financial dealings.
And just how fast things spread online now. Public opinion forms almost instantly.
Precisely. And it taps into that ongoing concern about financial integrity, holding people accountable.
Okay, moving on. Patience Jonathan says she plans to campaign with Oluremi Tinubu in 2027.
No, that is interesting.
Right. It hints at potential shifts, maybe new alliances forming. These are two figures who haven't always been on the same side, politically speaking.
Indeed. Political landscapes are never static, are they? It shows that fluidity. We can't just assume old loyalties will hold.
Something to watch, definitely. We also saw that the PDP, the People's Democratic Partner, is having a big meeting before their main NEC, their National Executive Committee meeting.
The internal strategizing.
Exactly. These kinds of meetings often give clues about where a major party might be heading.
Yeah, they'll be discussing key policies, leadership stuff, their election strategy, probably hashing things out. Vital signs for the party's direction.
Now let's talk about Rivers State. Seems quite complex there.
It does.
The former governor, Fubara, says he's not desperate to get back into power.
Okay.
But there's also a major Supreme Court battle brewing over a possible emergency rule.
Wow, emergency rule. That's serious.
Yeah, it involves the federal government, top lawyers. It sounds like a critical legal and political flashpoint.
Definitely. If the Supreme Court gets involved in declaring emergency rule where the FG potentially takes over state functions, that's a huge constitutional step.
Big implications for the federal structure, I imagine.
Absolutely. Big implications.
Switching gears slightly, Lagos council polls are coming up in July. And apparently a lot of women from the APC, the All Progressives Congress, are running.
Oh, that's notable. A positive sign, perhaps?
Could be. Maybe a conscious push for more female representation at the local level.
Good to see. More women in politics, especially starting locally in a major hub like Lagos. That can only be a good thing for inclusivity.
And interestingly, the federal government seems to have changed its mind and endorsed the Senate's Security Summit.
A reversal.
Apparently. Might signal more willingness to work together with the Senate on security challenges?
Well, a more collaborative approach on something as critical as national security usually leads to better outcomes, right? Pooling resources, different perspectives.
Could be a sign of a more unified front, perhaps.
Let's hope so.
Then there's the Labor Party crisis. Still ongoing, it seems.
Yeah, INEC, the Electoral Commission, is kind of keeping the different factions waiting.
Sounds like it. Internal party splits like that, they can cause broader uncertainty, can't they?
For sure. Makes it harder for them to function effectively. INC is probably trying to figure out the legitimate leadership according to the rules.
And just a quick clarification point, the Senate made clear the MD of the South-South Commission isn't Senator Akpabio's daughter.
Good to clear up rumors.
Yeah, important to get the facts straight, especially with news moving so fast.
Crucial for public trust.
And finally, for politics, the Supreme Court held a valedictory session for the late Justice Ogwegbu.
A formal way to honor his service.
Yes, an important tradition in the judiciary, reflecting on someone's legacy. A moment of reflection.
All right, let's shift over to the economy and development, also a very busy area.
Seems like it.
The big headline here is the federal government potentially unlocking N23 trillion in pension funds. Wow, N23 trillion. That's a staggering figure.
It really is. What could that actually do?
Well, the potential impact is huge
Mhm.
if it's channeled properly into infrastructure, roads, power, communications. But, using pension funds like that needs really strong oversight.
Right, you have to protect those savings.
Exactly. Safeguards are key to make sure it delivers benefits without too much risk. It's tricky.
On the flip side, though, Nigeria's debt has apparently shot up by N57 trillion in just 18 months.
Oof, that's a lot in a short time.
It sounds worrying.
It definitely warrants a close look. Raises serious questions about fiscal sustainability, the burden on the future. You need to see what kind of debt it is, domestic, external, the terms.
Yeah, the details matter.
Very much so.
We also saw the CBN, the central bank, earned about N3.1 billion in interest from the government's Ways and Means.
The government borrowing short-term from the central bank.
Basically, yeah. An interesting look at the money flow between those two.
It is. Shows how immediate needs are financed. But relying too heavily on that can impact inflation, monetary policy.
And it looks like NIMC, the National Identity Management Commission, has increased fees for changing NIN data, the National Identification Number.
Even small fee increases for essential things like ID updates can add up for people.
Especially for those on lower incomes, I imagine.
Precisely. These things have a cumulative effect.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Ports Authority, the NPA, is denying some pretty big fraud allegations, multi-billion naira ones.
Yeah, institutions handling that much money are always under scrutiny.
Transparency is key there. Their denial suggests they're pushing back, ready for scrutiny, perhaps.
As they should be. Accountability is paramount.
Then there's this new Nigeria First policy drive.
Right, trying to get people to buy more locally made goods.
Yeah, through NASANI, the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, a push for self-reliance, supporting local industry.
Makes sense. Policies like that can create jobs, diversify the economy. Success depends on the quality and cost of local goods, though, and government support.
And speaking of local production, the government's PPP garment factories. Public-private partnerships are apparently ready to supply uniforms for paramilitary groups.
Oh, interesting. A concrete example.
Yeah, using local factories for government contracts, that could be a real boost for them.
Definitely. Good for jobs, reduces import reliance, assuming the quality and efficiency are there, of course.
On infrastructure, seems there's progress on the Akure Acre Road.
Good.
And big plans to upgrade airports, especially MMIA in Lagos Murtala Mohammed International.
Crucial. Better transport infrastructure roads. Airports is fundamental for economic growth. Upgrading a key gateway like MMIA is really important for business, tourism, everything.
And more transport news. Enugu Air, CNG buses, compressed natural gas, and new terminals are all launching soon, apparently.
That sounds like a significant improvement in options for people. CNG buses are generally better for the environment too, right?
Yeah, and potentially cheaper long-term, better mobility, hopefully boosting local economies.
Good stuff.
Also seeing a climate-smart agriculture project, a collaboration between AGRA, Nestle, and TechnoServe.
That's an important area, tackling climate change impact on farming.
Encouraging to see that kind of partnership agricultural group, big food company, a nonprofit.
Yeah, you need that multi-sector approach for complex problems like sustainable agriculture.
For consumers, Access Bank is running a big customer rewards program.
Loyalty programs. Always nice when companies give something back.
Can build stronger relationships, I guess.
Definitely.
And Dangote Industries is reassuring everyone that can meet the country's fuel demand.
That'll be welcome news, given past fuel scarcity issues.
For sure. Stability in fuel supply is just essential. Having a major refinery like Dangote's helps build confidence. Finally, on the economy, Peter Obi is stressing again that tackling corruption is key for Nigeria's and Africa's progress.
It's a recurring and critical theme, isn't it? Many see fighting corruption as absolutely fundamental for sustainable growth.
A huge challenge, but essential.
Undeniably.
Okay, let's move to social issues and security. Often tough topics.
Unfortunately, yes.
The UK is tightening rules on care worker visas. That's going to impact Nigerians looking for work there.
Yeah, that's a significant change, linked to the wider debate in the UK about immigration levels.
Right, Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary, has been quite vocal about it, calling it an immigration crisis.
It reflects those global migration dynamics and the domestic pressures in destination countries. Visa changes have real consequences for people's lives.
Tough situation. On a more positive, though still serious note, the FG rescued a large number of trafficking victims from Côte d'Ivoire.
That's good news for the individuals rescued, but a grim reminder that trafficking is still a major problem.
Absolutely. Shows the need for ongoing efforts, prevention, support for survivors. It's an international crime.
And a horrific violation of human rights. These rescues are vital, but only part of the solution.
And we hear from an immigration lawyer that many Nigerians who've emigrated the Japa phenomenon are facing a lot of frustration abroad.
The reality versus the expectation sometimes.
Seems so. Relocating is tough cultural differences, finding work, maybe loneliness.
It really highlights that emigrating is a massive life change. Needs realistic expectations, lots of research. It's not always greener on the other side.
True. Back in Nigeria, there are efforts against illegal activities. Troops recovering stolen oil products in the Niger Delta, the NSCDC sealing illegal refineries in Anambra.
Trying to curb that economic sabotage and the environmental damage from illegal refining.
Crucial work. Those activities have huge negative impacts.
Absolutely. Protects resources and the environment.
On general security, gun runners were caught in Plateau State.
Shows the ongoing problem of illegal firearms getting into the wrong hands.
Fuels violence, instability. These arrests are important steps.
They are, but you also need to tackle the root causes, the demand for these weapons.
Inside the Army, over 80 captains are starting their promotion exams.
Professional development.
Yeah, ongoing training and advancement within the military, keeping the forces capable.
Essential.
The NDLEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, made a big bust at Port Harcourt Airport, a woman trying to smuggle cocaine.
Good catch. Shows their vigilance against drug trafficking.
A constant battle, it seems. Drugs are a massive threat. Health, security, rule of law. Now, this is deeply concerning. Miyetti Allah, the Cattle Breeders Association, reports huge losses in northern Nigeria.
Both cattle and, tragically, human lives.
Yes. Due to violence, it really underscores the devastating human cost of the conflicts there.
Awful statistics. Highlights the urgent need for solutions to protect lives and livelihoods in those communities.
And there are efforts to tackle the farmer-herder clashes, like a new committee inaugurated in Bauchi State.
That's a long-running, complex issue. Finding sustainable solutions is vital for peace and food security. Dialogue is key.
Hopefully that committee makes progress.
Let's hope.
Meanwhile, Governor Sani in Kaduna State is worried about rising drug abuse, especially among young people in the Northwest.
Another serious social and health issue. Needs a multi-pronged approach: prevention, treatment, enforcement.
Yeah, tackling both supply and demand.
Exactly.
We're also seeing reports of arrests for violent crimes, killing university graduates, defiling a minor. Grim reminders.
Tragic incidents. Underscores the need for effective justice investigation, accountability, support for victims.
And in Lagos, a terrible accident, 2 dispatch riders killed by a falling container.
Oh no. Highlights the need for infrastructure safety, secure cargo handling. Just tragic.
Absolutely. Separately and rather unusually, the NCAA, the Aviation Authority, clarified that an Air Peace jet hitting an Antelope caused some flight issues at Asaba Airport.
An Antelope, you don't hear that every day.
No, but highlights the unexpected things that can happen in aviation and the need for clear communication.
True enough.
Also in Lagos, LASBCA, the building control agency, removed shanties in Ikeja over security threats.
Urban planning and security often go hand in hand.
And the state government is encouraging young people to join the Army, addressing immediate threats and maybe long-term recruitment.
Could be. Managing urban safety and ensuring military manpower.
Finally, in this section, reports that Bello Turji, a known bandit leader, his threats are forcing people to flee their homes in Sokoto State.
That's deeply worrying. Displacement due to banditry is a humanitarian crisis. People need protection, stability.
A really tough situation for those communities.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move to some of the other interesting snippets that popped up.
Right, a few more things.
President Tinubu received a Lifetime Africa Achievement Prize in Ghana.
International recognition can be good for the country's image, reflects perceived contributions.
And we're expecting a report soon on restarting oil exploration in Ogoniland.
That's a very sensitive issue. Lots of history there.
Definitely. Huge economic, environmental, social implications.
Yeah.
That report will be closely watched.
No doubt.
On a more personal level, celebrations for businessman Chief Iludoin's 77th birthday.
Nice.
And condolences to the Speaker of the House, Abbas Tajuddin, who lost his mother-in-law.
Reminders of the personal lives behind the public rules.
Yeah. Then some court orders, EFCC told to return seized funds in one case,
Okay.
and the federal government ordered to release data on gas flaring in another.
Interesting. Environmental info.
Seems like it. We also heard Southern Kaduna academics appreciating development efforts there.
Always good to hear positive feedback from the local level about projects. Means they might be working.
Right, and Femi Falana, the lawyer and activist, is calling for a probe into an allegedly diverted IMF loan.
Another call for financial accountability. Important for good governance, especially with international loans.
Definitely. Slightly different note, there's a DJ's Championship getting backing from the NCC, the Communications Commission.
Oh, a regulator supporting the arts.
Yeah, interesting to see support for the creative sector. Good for culture, jobs, maybe the national profile.
Can be, yeah.
The First Lady, Senator Oloremi Tinubu, inaugurated a mother and child center in Imo State.
Good news. Investing in maternal and child health infrastructure is vital. Saves lives.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, ASU, the University Lecturers Union, is criticizing institutional weaknesses and corruption.
ASU often weighs in on broader national issues. Their perspective on governance is important.
They usually have a strong stance on ethics and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
The CIBN, the Bankers Institute, is getting ready for its annual general meeting.
A key event for the banking sector. Networking, discussing trends.
Right. And recognition for Afinifer leader Chief Fizarante, approaching 99 years old.
Wow, 99. Honoring elder statesmen.
And honorary doctorates for Governors Obor of Wari of Delta and Dury of Bayelsa. Acknowledging service and achievements.
Nice gestures.
Lagos State wants to become a year-round tourism spot.
Ambitious.
And Akwa Ibom is asking for more federal money for its tourism sector.
Shows that growing recognition of tourism as an economic engine. Lots of potential there.
Right. Yeah, job creation, revenue.
Exactly.
Ekiti State's government warned contractors about project delays.
Cracking the whip. Need those public projects finished on time.
Important for efficiency and getting benefits to people.
Right. Accountability.
And the Alafin of Oyo, the traditional ruler, spoke about the Itsekiri people having Yoruba roots.
Historical and cultural connections.
And former Governor Ladoja is chairing the 2025 Igungun Festival, keeping traditions alive.
Important for cultural identity and cohesion.
Okay, now, for those quick facts. Did you know
Let's hear them.
caffeine is the world's most consumed psychoactive substance?
Can't believe that.
And in Japan, chefs need over 2 years of training just to safely prepare pufferfish fugu.
Wow. That's dedication. And high stakes.
Yeah.
Fascinating little tidbits.
They are. And today in history, for May 12th, a reminder of the 2006 pipeline explosion in Nigeria
A terrible tragedy.
and the huge earthquake in China in 2008.
Also devastating. Reflecting on these past events gives context, helps us remember the lessons.
Yeah, important historical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, the quote for today is from Paul Arden. Don't be afraid of silly ideas.
I like that. Encourages creativity, thinking outside the box.
Right. Don't dismiss something just because it sounds unconventional at first.
Absolutely. Often the breakthroughs come from those silly ideas nobody else took seriously. Keep an open mind.
So there we have it, a pretty rapid but hopefully insightful deep dive into just one day snapshot of Nigeria.
Definitely covered a lot of ground. Politics, economy, social issues, culture.
It really shows the complexity, doesn't it? All these different threads weaving together, constant motion.
And these headlines, they're really just jumping off points, aren't they? Each one could lead to a much deeper exploration if you're interested in a specific area.
Exactly. Whether it's a political shift, an economic policy, or the human stories behind the social news.
So much to potentially dig into.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener. How does hearing this quick overview shape your picture of Nigeria? Do you see connections between these different stories?
And thinking about that final quote. What silly idea in your own world might actually hold some unexpected potential? Something to mull over.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.